Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 66 of the Trainer Scoop podcast. I'm very, very happy to be joined by none other than Reddit famous Ty. Say what's up to the people, Ty. Reddit famous Ty.
What's up? Reddit famous Ty only.
I can only refer to Tyler Besel as Reddit famous Ty. That was the agreement. So I guess Basil, sorry. Did I say Besel? Like
You totally did.
like it sounds like that thing from Harry Potter that saved Ron's life when he drank the poisonous drink meant for Dumbledore in the Half-Blood Prince. Right?
Oh,
We're going deep.
yeah.
We're going deep in the Harry
Yeah,
Potter lore.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't fucking think of the name of it right now.
We'll think of it. What's been up,
It'll come
Ty?
to me later.
For sure. What's been up? What's new?
Not a whole lot. Just finally getting back into the swing of being in the gym regularly. And not only being a coach, like going and being an athlete again. And I have 3 shows in 4 days in 3 different cities coming up this next week. So I've got lots of shows coming up.
Dang. Okay, I definitely want to touch on that. That's exciting stuff. There's so much that we could get into here. But I feel like this is going to be a really fun podcast. So once again, appreciate you all for listening. Ty, I appreciate you for coming on and talking because it might be a little known fact, but Ty, I'm sorry, Tyler Yee. I think Ty is my favorite P2 coach, progressive performance.
Okay, Ty.
So for those who don't know, I did an internship with Progressive Performance, which is like the coaching company run by Bryce Calvin. And that was an awesome experience for me last summer and into like the fall of 2022. I was happy and lucky enough to work with and under Coach Ty here. And I don't know, we always just had fun with it. Like little things that we did here and there were always fun. And I got to learn a lot from that process as a whole. Very grateful for it and grateful to have met so many cool people, including you, Reddit famous Ty.
All right.
Okay, real quick, before we get into all the fun stuff you just talked about, everyone's probably wondering why I keep referring to you as Reddit famous Ty. Can you explain that situation?
I would never say famous. I think that Bryce put those words into the universe and it just stuck. But there was a time when I was more active on Reddit. I'm still like, I pop in and I still talk to people every once in a while. I still talk to a lot of like the mods and stuff like that. I'm still friends with them. But I don't like go into the daily discussion or anything anymore. But as often and talk about my own shit, I just go in and like watch people and their shit. But I used to frequent the bodybuilding subreddit specifically. And I was again close with a lot of mods, and I used to post in there all the time, and I was actually the picture on the sidebar for a hot minute when I won my first overall. So
That's pretty crazy.
That's where Reddit famous came from.
That's pretty crazy. Okay, wait, so what years was that scene like really popping off?
It was probably the beginning of my journey in terms of bodybuilding. So it was probably between 2014 and 2017 that it was like really hot and popping. Right, like it's a lot slower now. But in like 2016 or so, when I won that overall, was just like super freaking busy all the time on that subreddit. So yeah, it's not nearly as much anymore, but it definitely was at one point.
Yeah. Okay. 2014 to 2017. So I was taking US history AP.
Oh,
I was taking the ACT.
I'm old, I get it. I know, I'm old.
I was you know what I was doing fitness wise at that time? Anabolic fasting, if that makes sense, right? There was a whole bunch of misinformation back in the day around online
That was a big
fitness
thing.
stuff. Oh my gosh. I would like wake up at 3 a.m. and go train with that dude like outside of Columbus. I was bought in. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, or rather the branched chain amino acids. Funny story with that.
Love that.
I was so like I had it so fucked up in my mind that like I remember looking at my bank account once and I had like probably like $300 in there, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy this $150 supplement stack. Just burned my
Yep.
bank account
I've
down.
been there. I remember doing that too, or similar. When I was in my first prep, being like, "It's fine. I only have like $100 in my account. This is 60. It's fine." Like, what?
The things we do. No, I feel like that's so cool though
Yeah.
that you had that like presence back then. I really don't know what like bodybuilding looked like back then. I've been kind of like a more recent like fan of like the different categories and classes of bodybuilding within the past like year or two. So like how have things changed? What was it like back then? I mean, we kind of all can relate to what it's like now for people that follow the sport, but like what has the evolutions been in from your perspective?
It's a lot small. It was a lot smaller. It's a lot bigger now. Everyone's
Mhm.
bigger. Every division's bigger. Every division has more muscle. That comes with time. I feel like that just is what it is. The sport evolves over time, and that like, it's bound to happen. I think the only division that's not like insanely different is maybe open men's, but even then it's still so much different than it was. They're looking for a lot different, like they're not looking for different things necessarily, but people are coming in a different shape than they were then.
Mhm.
Drugs are better, coaching tactics are better, like people know that peak weeks you need salt and water now, so people are coming in tighter. So the competition is a lot different now in that way, as opposed to you're not seeing as many people spilling over because people aren't doing stupid shit during peak week anymore as much. People still are, but not nearly as much. And bikini, specifically where I started, obviously where I ended too, but where I started was a lot smaller. Didn't need hardly any muscle mass really. As long as you were lean and you looked good in your bikini and you had some muscle mass, that was plenty. I didn't have any sort of like definition or tie-ins or anything like that until probably 2019, and I started in 2015.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
I didn't need them until about 2017, and I didn't realize I needed them until then. So, but the biggest difference I think is just the size and again the condition that people are coming in now. Like the condition can be absolutely fucking nuts now, and I don't remember it being that crazy unless it was the Olympia. And now
Yeah.
it's like every fucking show, everyone's in like insane condition, and if you're not spot on, you're off.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because I was just doing my due diligence as I always try to do for my guests. And I was like looking at your little NPC profile to see some of the shows in the past. And I definitely saw like the evolution of your physique. And yeah, it's like the conditioning toward the most recent one. Was your most recent one in 2021? Most recent show?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was junior nats.
Yeah. Okay. So is it fair to say, and I might have this twisted, but like I feel like for a bikini athlete, like you're pretty jacked, Ty. Like, yeah, no,
I am. I am. I was the top end of the division. I for sure was. I was told that by Sandy at least once, and by other judges as well. Especially at local shows, I definitely got scored down sometimes. Like I was placed in second instead of first because I was too big for bikini, even though at the national level I would have been fine. So I think it depends on the show that you are going to, but even at the national level, they were like, don't touch your quads or legs, like you're good. Like just coast in, like don't get any more muscular. And I'm like, okay, like
yeah,
that's a weird, like not a bad problem to have, but
right. No, that is.
we
I see
actually
what
ended
you
up
mean, though.
running a lot of yeah, we actually ended up running a lot of the muscle off of my legs at one point because it was just like we needed to bring my legs down and there was no other way to do it. So
Oh, geez, that's such a weird thing to think about, but like cool problems to have, right? Congrats on being jacked. Um,
yeah.
there's also this like weird site. I can't remember. It was like I'll have to send it to you, but there's a picture of you sitting on a leg press and some girl's
Oh, on
leg
the top of
pressing.
it.
Yeah. I
That's
was
my
like,
friend
why
showed
did
me.
they? I was like, why did they include that? That was funny.
That is weird. You have to send me that, like, because that was posted on my Instagram.
Yeah, they
But
just took a whole bunch of photos of you. Like some of them are like in your hallway in your house, and they're posted up on the site. I'm like, this
that's
is a weird
weird.
flex for sure. For sure. Guys, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the podcast. I wanted to interrupt the episode to give a quick promotion for myself, and that is my discount code with raw supplements. If you use this code right here below, DMartin070, you're going to get 10% off of your purchase. And I'm a big fan of raw supplements. They have great tasting whey isolates, and a lot of their products take this Christopher's Secret Stuff pre-workout, are dosed with very good ingredient labels at levels that the studies recommend. I'll always say it, guys. Supplements aren't going to make or break you, but they can give you that little edge if you have the money to invest in it. So why not save some of that hard-earned money? Use my code, help your boy out, and get 10% off with the code below. Let's get back to the episode. Also, while you guys are sitting here, as long as you're not operating heavy motor vehicles, I know we have a couple forklift certified listeners and viewers to the Trainer Scoop podcast, but just go ahead and follow Ty. Ty, do you know what your Instagram handle is at the top of your head?
Yeah, it's Ty, like THAI .BESEL, Basil.
Ty.Besel. Go follow her because it's cool stuff. Lots of good. I really like your page because you hype your clients up so much, and that's something that I've tried to start to do more of. Like you can tell like you're a coach from your Instagram presence, and I think that's really cool. And like, of course, when the time rolls around again, I'm sure you'll be blasting the check-in pics, throwing up the stage shots. But like, I think I like your page. It's cool. You're doing good with it.
Thanks.
Go ahead and follow Ty. That when you were talking about kind of like the evolution of Bikini specifically, I really liked the episode that Bryce did on the Progressive Performance podcast with Lauren Bear. They talked a little bit about that. But one thing that I had the question of while I was listening to that was like, as a coach, how do you know what to do with your athletes when it can be, maybe I'm not correct in saying this, but to me, it seems like the Bikini division in particular can kind of be like, it can have like more ambiguity than other divisions in terms of like what they're looking for. So how do you navigate that as a coach?
So you're right. Bikini definitely has the most ambiguity. It can definitely go a completely different direction depending on who's on the panel. Like if you're at a national show and like Tyler Mannion's on the panel, he likes a muscular bikini girl. So he's going to pick a muscular bikini girl. But if he's not on the panel and he's replaced with someone else who likes a softer bikini girl, then the people who are super muscular are going to get second, third, fourth call outs. And whereas if he were there, they would have placed in the first call out, no problem. So when it comes to national shows, looking at who's going to be on the panel does help because they all kind of have trends into like what they tend to prefer. And when it comes to local shows, I think the best thing you can do, honestly, is just bring them in the best condition they can be in and hope for the best because you can't control who's going to be on that panel. If you're looking to for sure qualify, then I feel like lining up at least a couple shows is going to be the best bet with a couple different panels, just because, like I said, you don't know who's going to like what, and it's kind of a bit of a crapshoot, and you kind of have to just roll with the punches and go with what you think they might like. I liked to go to shows with Sandy if I could, because she is the head judge of all the female divisions. So I liked to go where Sandy was if I could. That's something I do like to encourage people to do because you can get feedback from her and she really is like the end all be all. And she knows the division better than anybody. She knows the judging criteria better than anybody. And if you can stay and talk to her, she is absolutely willing to tell you like what you need and what you don't need. And she's very, very good about that. So I like to encourage people to also try and go and see Sandy in person when you're in stage condition, because it can be a game changer in terms of like what you need to do.
Yeah, that's some really good advice there. That's good stuff for sure. I want to talk about this string of shows that you have coming up. So you mentioned you have like what, did you say 3 or 4 shows that you'll be traveling around
They're
for
raves,
people?
but yeah.
I thought you were talking about
no,
I thought you were talking about your clients.
No.
We'll get into rave girl Ty mode toward the end. I definitely want to hit on that because that's also something that you and me chat about is music too. So definitely before we transition to that though, I wanna pick your brain apart in terms of coaching, because I do think I don't know. It's just something that I always kind of like, even before we started talking from the internship. I think I followed you before that, just from seeing you. I was like, Ty's a good coach. Like, how do I get like that? But okay. A question that I have about Bikini in particular and maybe you can even talk about other divisions, is like the amount of shows people can do in a competitive season. Like I think she's one of Bryce's clients, Liana, right? She's like a IFBB pro. It seemed like she did a shit ton of shows, and obviously
Yeah.
circumstances are a little different when you're at that level. But like, how do you navigate that as a coach when you're within striking distance of like making waves in the division? Like, do you keep pushing? Do you keep pushing? Like, when do you pull it back?
So I think that boils down to not only you knowing your athlete, but your athlete knowing themselves. Because Liana is a genetic freak and she can tend to eat more going into shows than a lot of people. That being said, her macros obviously still got low, but people who are able to eat more going into shows can tend to go longer because you have more food. Like food is energy. Like you can't do anything without it. And if you're in a place where I had like 60 grams of carbs and like 20 grams of fat, and I was just running on fumes and rage, like you can't keep going forever, right?
Ugh.
And I was doing like 70 to 80 minutes of cardio, like it was a whole thing.
Damn.
We can get into my last prep if you want.
Yeah, we
But
should.
I think that it depends on the athlete knowing themselves and you knowing the athlete. Like the better you know your athlete, your client, the better you can kind of predict when that breaking point is. Liana knows herself very well, so she was able to kind of be like, I really need to like take a break, dude. I need to step back. And Dylan also knows Liana well enough to be able to be like, okay, like that makes sense. Like we definitely need to take a break, pull back, and then we'll hit it again next year. For me, I think that my breaking point is around 27 weeks. And then I start to, or maybe 20, between 20 and 27, where I start to just like break down. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm done. Like I was supposed to go to USA's and I pulled out like 3 weeks out because I just was like, I can't fucking do this anymore, dude. Like I'm done. And the plan was to continue going until I got my pro card, but I'm like, I just can't because I know my breaking point and I'm well past it at this point. So I think that kind of really paying attention to your athlete, paying attention to the things they say to you, and really encouraging them to be very upfront with you and their feelings, and not only their physical in terms of like biofeedback, but also their mental, because that is a big piece of it that people don't necessarily think about being a breaking point. Like, yeah, there's a physical breaking point, but that mental breaking point is a much bigger one, and it's going to end up in more catastrophe than even a physical breaking point will.
Yeah. Okay, got you. Yeah, I think that's why, like, part of why I was like, damn, Ty's a good coach. Is it like that, like empathy that you have with your clients and like
I'm a very, very empathetic person. I'm super
yeah.
empathetic. Like I'm very like, and I also like to really get to know my clients and really get to like the bottom of everything, as opposed to just like being super surface level. Like, here's your macros, have a good day. Like, I really like to know all the things that are going on in their life so that I can know sort of like what they're dealing with other than just their lifts. Cause like I could easily just send them their lifts and be like, have a good week, enjoy. But I want to know like maybe why something was challenging for them that week, or maybe like if there's something going on in their life and it's really like putting a block on things, or like all of that stuff. I like to know everything about my clients, as opposed to just, like I said, being that surface level coach that I can't get on board with.
Yeah. I try to be the same way as much as possible. Like, I really can't see the other side of like maintaining a distance from your client. Like, obviously there's different scenarios, but like I'll like occasionally talk to one of my clients' wives and be like, how's he doing? How are you doing? How's the kids? Like, because I just like I want to be involved in that, and I want to know like I'll ask him, like he's like rebuilding a truck, this client that I have that's like wanting to do a show. I'm like, how's the truck coming? Like, can you balance like the gym with your family and like doing this thing that you want to do and like rebuilding your truck? Like, it's I think it's a sign of a really good coach when you do that. Like I said, there's scenarios for everything, but no, I definitely respect that about you, and I think you're doing a good job of it.
Thanks.
Of course. Um, cool. I think we got a good deal of bikini division in general discussed. But I also want to hype you up a little bit, because I feel like I don't know if you do that enough on your like social media and stuff. Like I said, it's like always shouting out clients, and you'll post like the videos of you working out and everything as well. But specifically with your competitive career, Like, take me through the journey. Where did it start? What's next? All the things in between.
Yeah. Okay. So started in 2014. I learned about it. I had never even heard about it. I didn't know what the fuck bodybuilding was.
In
I had never seen
Alaska, they don't
it.
have these things, people. Ty is from
No.
Alaska, as a
Yeah, they
quick
don't.
aside.
Like, they had little tiny shows, and I had kind of heard about it. Like, they had one show that probably had like 8 people entered, like for like years ago, that one of my friends did. And then like they had some in Anchorage that like 10 people entered, and like they're bigger now. But you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like at the time, teeny tiny. And I had never even heard about it until I was going to a gym. I was going there all the time. And the trainer asked me if I'd ever thought about competing. And I was like, in what? like competing in what? What are you talking about? So he kind of described it to me, and he set me up with a coach. Her name is Berkeley. She's amazing, and I love her. And I started talking to her about it, and she was kind of she was like, I really want to like have a couple athletes at this next show. And she's like, telling me that she really wants to work with me. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me learn more about this first. So I asked my friend Kimmy, who still competes and is currently in prep for some national shows this summer. She's jacked, by the way.
She can leg press you.
Yeah, she's even bigger now. She looks amazing, honestly. But she had competed in figure in bikini before, like way back when, in like 2012 or 13. And I had known her from like soccer, like from high school. So I was like, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, so like, what do you recommend? Like, I don't know anything about this. Like, do you recommend bikini? Do you recommend figure? Like, I really don't know I don't know anything in this. And she's like, I recommend bikini because figure girls are much more muscular than you would expect. And I was like, okay, good. So literally talking to her, I was just like, cool, bikini, I'm sold. So I started my prep for my very first show, which was Night of Champions on September 27th, 2015. I only remember the date because it was 3 days after my birthday. And I was in peak week for my birthday, and that was not fun. Oh. But first show was Night of Champions. I won my class, and then I think I got second or third overall, because again, we didn't need a whole lot of muscle mass at that point. It was when the bikini back pose was taking a hip. It wasn't like the straddle pose. It was when the front pose was like that classic India Paulino pose. It's not the side pose. Like, it was a different time entirely. And I won my class and then got second or third overall. And then I went into an off season. And for some reason, like, past Tyler did not think this through, but instead of like keeping my coach and going through like a proper reverse, I just didn't. I was just like, I can do it myself. I'll reverse myself. It's fine. It's not fine. Don't do it. Nobody do it. I swear to God. Don't make my mistakes. But I did my own reverse. It was not great, but I did put on some muscle mass. And then I did Emerald Cup the next year in 2016. I won my class. And then I don't know where I landed in the overall. Honestly, I was just so excited to be there. I was like, I'm just happy to be here, guys. Like, I don't care about anything else. And then I went into an off season, which was really just like a super strict, like, I was still tracking. I don't think my calories went over like 1900, maybe.
Oh, shit.
They were pretty low. I was still fucking lean. And then I went right back into a prep for Night of Champions again. And that was when I won my first overall. Ooh. And then 2 weeks later, I won the overall in the Idaho Muscle Classic? No, Idaho Cup. And then after that, I took that was 2016. I broke my ankle in 2017. Yeah, super exciting stuff. I broke my ankle on the rock climbing wall. It was like a bouldering wall. And you know how there's like pads underneath the wall? Well, these pads weren't right up against the wall. There was like a space like this. And I fell straight down right on top of my ankle. And
oh man,
I could have shattered the whole thing, but luckily, because I weight trained and because I've been active my whole life, my bones are pretty fucking dense at this point. So it just like chipped a little bit, and I didn't need surgery, thank God. But there's probably still a chip hanging out in there somewhere.
That's brutal.
Then I know. And then once I got out of my boot and out of my cast and all of that stuff, I kind of went back into another prep. I did an April show in Alaska called Judgment Day, and I won the overall at that. And then I went to Idaho Muscle Classic in June, and I got second in my class at that in bikini, and I crossed over into figure and won my class in figure. I know, I've done it all. And then after Idaho Muscle, I took a long time off. That was 2017. I didn't go back to a show until 2019. I went to my first national show. So I did a local show. I won my class. That was really all I needed, was to win my class. I didn't need anything else. So I won my class. Then I went to USA's and got my, oh, no. I went to North Americans, got my ass handed to me, like on a platter.
What's that gap like?
Oh my God. Going from competing like in the Pacific Northwest at little shows and like in Alaska at teeny tiny shows to fucking North Americans where they're jacked as hell and everyone's been competing in national shows all season and they're like stupid lean and they're all huge and you're just like, I was backstage, I was like, oh my God, I don't belong here. Like I truly don't belong here. This is ridiculous. This is actually, I think 2018. I was just like, I don't fucking belong here. I need to like get really jacked before I come back. That was my like whole goal. I think I got like third call outs. I was in the middle of third call out. So I wasn't like that much smaller than everybody or that bad, but it felt really bad.
So
and
like
then
real quick, how like on show day, like if you realize that happens, like I feel like I would be like, just fuck, like it would just really rattle me. So like, were you able to kind of like overcome that in your mind and just go out there and do your thing, 21? Or like, did you feel pretty rattled?
No, I was rattled. I was fucking rattled. Like it was, I think that the only national show I haven't felt fully rattled at was junior USA's and junior Nats. Like I didn't feel super rattled for either of those. But for North Americans, for USA's, like I was like, I don't belong here. This is ridiculous. Like I was super nervous, but luckily it didn't affect my physique too much. Like I wasn't so stressed out that I was like spilling over or anything like that. I just wasn't in condition, and that's fine. So then I took a couple years off and just built as much glutes as I possibly could. Like that was my whole focus for a couple years, was just fucking glutes. That was it. And then I did an Alaska show again and won my class. And then I went to, that's when I went to USA's. And that was the year that wellness was going to be coming the next year. So I think that was 2019. So 2020 was when wellness like became a thing. And I was very bottom heavy and my legs weren't quite lean enough. Like you could see definition, but they weren't obviously like peeled lean like they needed to be. So when I came off stage and I got feedback, they said to do wellness, not knowing that I just wasn't lean enough. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't think that I'm going to fit into wellness. There's no way. Seeing other like countries do wellness is ridiculous. So I was like, okay, well, I'll think about it. But really my focus is just to essentially maintain and or gain just a little bit more tissue on my glutes, and that's it. So I took all of 2020 off and the rest of 2019. And then I was with Dylan, I think, that whole time. And then I did a prep with Dylan between the end of 2020. So it was like Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving Day was the day I started my prep. Super cool. So I started prep Thanksgiving Day, and then my first show was April in Alaska. And I got second in my class because they said I was too athletic, which just means that I was too jacked for Alaska bikini. It's fine. I was like, oh, whatever. So I was not quite lean enough and I was too big for Alaska. Not a big deal. I still qualified. I went to Girl Power and I won my class there. And I think I got like second or third overall there. And then I went immediately, like a week later, to Junior USA's with Dylan and Alex and like Sarah and like a bunch of people on BA, obviously. And then I won my class there, but that's the one national show that you have to get top 4 in the overall, not just your class. And I won my class. So like you would think I'd be a pro, but you have to get top 4 overall in that particular show. So I did not get top 4 overall. I think I was like 5th or 6th overall. So I was like, well, neat. And then I went to junior Nats and I got 4th in my class. And then that was sort of like the end of my prep. I think I was at week 25 or 26 at that point. And I was just like fried. And then I went for another 2 weeks. And I was just like, Dylan, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. Like I'm pulling the plug.
Got you.
So
yeah. What's next?
Oh God. So I don't know if I'm going to compete ever again, if you want the truth. I think that as well as I did, like I recognize that I did really well in my division. Like I didn't, I don't, I've always done pretty freaking good in bikini. Like it's not a big deal. I think that mentally I'm in a place where I'm like, I just want to chill. Like
hmm
I've been in prep basically the entire time my husband and I have been together.
hmm
I've been
What a
tracking or in
guy.
prep or
Such a patient
I
guy.
he's a trooper. He's a patient as fuck. Like, and he's always been super supportive. And I think that we never got to go on our honeymoons. We want to do that. And I'm like, there's really no time for me to compete at the moment. And I have so many other things going on. I'm like, I just
Yeah.
want to go to raves and hang out. Like, so
Right.
I might not compete. If I compete, it'll be masters and it'll be way down the line. And that's fine. Like, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah. That's awesome though. So you mentioned, I think either that or I read it on one of your posts, but like you're kind of like getting back in a good swing of the gym. And that was
Yeah.
like a reoccurring thing that I talked to with like a couple of people. I feel like when I was doing the internship with P2, like obviously Bryce, I met Bryce when he was at like peak Giga Chad, already yelling 800 Bryce. That's how I always thought of Bryce. And then I think I briefly talked to Kelly, she was having like ups and downs with the gym. And so I'm definitely interested to hear your thoughts on like kind of like the burnout, coming back from it and how that goes.
Um, so for me, the burnout I think came because I had been doing it and been so on top of my shit for so long. I just never let myself relax. Like people often will take like breaks from tracking or whatever and take like long breaks from the gym and stuff. And I just never did. I didn't even know what I knew what a deload was, but I didn't ever take a deload for myself until Chris forced me to. Like, I was like, I don't need a deload. I'm fucking fine. Like, obviously, he was right. And like, I know better being a coach, like being a trainer for so many years. Like, I know better and I've put people through deloads, but my brain was just like, no, I'm different because,
No,
obviously.
I get that. I
So
get that.
I hadn't taken like a real deload until Chris forced me to. And um, I think that so many years of just being on my shit 24/7, it takes a toll on you because I don't, as much as our bodies thrive with consistency, I feel like there's a point you have to be able to enjoy what you're doing. I just wasn't anymore. I was like, the gym was just a chore. I didn't want to fucking go because I felt like I was just working toward a goal that I didn't know I wanted anymore. And I didn't want to fucking track a damn thing because I was like, man, this sucks. And I know that some people can track for years and be totally fine. But for me, I just couldn't do it anymore. And like, props to anybody who can. I just can't. And I don't know, man. I think that it just, like I said, I think it came from a place of just having done it for so long and not letting off the brakes. And I finally just like came to a crashing halt.
I talked a little bit with Bryce on that on like the P2 podcast that we did together. And he was like asking me if I'd ever experienced that. And I was like, no. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm a little bit younger, obviously. And like we were talking about it, he's like, it's like, oh, what did he say? He basically was like, oh, it's cute. Like that's what he was saying. I was like, yeah, yeah. But it's like what was that phrase he used? He's like, it's like rose tinted glasses or something. Like
Yeah, rose colored
I'm
glasses.
yeah, rose colored glass. I'm wondering, I'm like, is that ever gonna happen to me? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. I've also
I think
never
if
done.
you stay on top of deloads, don't be me, and also take breaks, like step away from the numbers for just like short periods of time, I think that you can kind of mitigate that. I try to mitigate that with my clients when I start to see them like kind of starting to fizzle where they're like, I really want to fucking be at the gym anymore. I've given plenty of mental deloads where it's like their recovery's fine, their biofeedback's fine, like they're in deep in off season, they have plenty of food, but their mental space isn't in the gym. And I want to give them a chance to miss it. So I will give literal mental deloads where I'm like, listen, if you go to the gym, cool. Don't feel like you have to. You'll be fine if you don't go for a whole week and just let yourself miss the gym. And then when they come back, they're like ready to go. And it is like a big breath of fresh air. I think that mitigating those little burnouts like that by just like seeing it, recognizing, hey, this is going to fizzle, and just being like, nope, we're taking a step back before it gets worse, kind of helps mitigate that long-term burnout that I experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Like something that I've recently learned and implemented with people as well. And it's like, I don't know, it's just not something that I would have ever thought of like back when I first started like coaching people that were more serious about their physique and or like about their performance. It's a interesting intersection of like the psychology aspect and just, making people or having people get it done. But
My
yeah,
degree is half psychology, so I'm half trained in spotting that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Okay, okay. Got you. Where'd you go to school? Somewhere in Alaska?
Yeah, so I started in Eastern Washington University in
Mhm,
Spokane, well, in Cheney technically, but near Spokane.
mhm.
And I did like 3.5 years of psych. I
Okay.
was ready to graduate, and
Yeah.
I took one course, counseling course, and realized I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, and switched majors technically. But because I had so many credits in psychology, that they let me double major when I switched to University of Alaska Anchorage. So
Okay.
I double
And
majored.
and then what was your like other part of the double major?
Dietetics and nutrition.
Got you. Okay. Interesting. I started out dietetics and then I switched to like glorified personal trainer degree. Do you do you use or do you like recollect much of the nutrition stuff you learned in school for your coaching?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that part of why I remember a lot of it and like a lot of it stuck was because I was also so immersed in the bodybuilding world and like how that stuff worked and doing my own nutrition or being coached by somebody. So I think that being immersed at the same time as I was studying kind of helped all of that. I think the only stuff that I have to still like refresh on is going to be like the mechanisms of like how protein is processed in a cell, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I need to search that kind of stuff, but like the basics and like a lot of the more important stuff, I've definitely retained, and I still have textbooks that I can refer to as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I like that as well. Like I feel like the nutrition side of things, especially, maybe even a little bit more so than just like the general exercise science stuff that I got with my degree. Like the nutrition stuff is much more applicable than other stuff. So I think it's cool to see that. Hey, we are using our degree a little bit here and there. All right, guys, we are back from our poverty Zoom break with my special guest.
mine
She's
are
just,
napping in the living room.
oh, what kind of dogs do you have?
Two huskies and a German Shepherd.
Ah, I like it. I
If you
like
can
it.
see my sweatshirt, I'm covered in husky hair. You probably can't see it this God.
Right, right. Oh man, I bet. So my parents have Great Pyrenees puppies, and I bet it's like the same thing. It's just like the white hair, the lighter colored hair. It's
Everywhere.
tough everywhere for sure. But I had one more question for you before we move on to the fun stuff, the get to know Coach Ty stuff. What have some of the biggest struggles that you've encountered with being a coach been? And of course, how have you worked to surmount those struggles?
Man. I think some of the biggest struggles are well, for one was obviously that when I was in my own bit of burnout and also coaching, it was really hard for me to want to go to the gym when I'm in programs all day. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to fucking, I don't know. I'm like, I'm already programming all day. Like, I don't want to go to the fucking gym. Luckily, I've had Chris to program for me. So shout out Chris. And keeping me at least somewhat on top of my shit. More on top of my shit than I would have been if I didn't have anybody to be accountable to. So that helps, having someone to be accountable yourself. Like coaches need coaches. At some point, everyone needs one, especially if you are like me and you ended up with a little bit of burnout, or you have a hard time compartmentalizing those things. I think that having somebody to be accountable to helps, kind of helps you kind of draw those lines. And another thing is, I don't want to say like this sounds, it's not bad. But I think that just like learning the different personality types, because everyone's different, and knowing what those people need. Because like I have clients on my roster who are totally happy to just do their lifts, send me a quick, my sheet's complete, not like they don't need any sort of like video feedback or anything like that. They don't send me anything. They're just very straightforward, like good to go, ready for you. That's it. Then I have other clients who obviously need a little bit more attention, need a little bit more time, need a little bit more like, I don't want to say hand holding, but a little bit more just like attention, really. And then there's people who are in between who sometimes need attention and sometimes really don't. And I think that kind of learning the different personality types and sort of like the different client types was sort of a bit of like a hurdle at first, because like I want to be like in everybody's everything. Like I want to be involved in all of your, like I want to know the things that happen. I want to know like the good things, the bad things. Like I want to know everything. But some clients don't want to share all that. And learning to be okay with the clients who are just happy to have like a quick update, and learning the clients who really want to be much closer on that front was a bit of a hurdle, but something that I obviously learned how to kind of like navigate as time went on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good point there. How do you deal with those clients where it's just like maybe initially you thought it was going to be a good fit, but then like down the road it's just like, man, this just isn't working. Like what's your strategy? Because that's happened to me a couple of times. Some have been better than others, and it's something that I personally am still like working to improve on.
I don't think I've had that happen since I was training in person personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for the most part, anyone who didn't work with ended up trying to ghost anyway. Like
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think I've only had like a personality clash once, and it
Mm-hmm.
was some guy, and he ended up ghosting us anyway. It is what it
Yeah.
is. I think that, I mean, I don't think that I hadn't gotten like attached to him by any means. So I was like, all right, dude, you do you. That's cool. Like have fun. I think that in person, it was different because I can be a bit of a chameleon when it comes to coaching. Like I can get along with pretty much any personality type, my Libra. So I can get along with pretty much any personality type, and it's like not a big deal. But in person, it's a lot different because it's like you're right in their face. And I think that the only time that maybe I felt like a personality clash was an older gentleman. And apparently there wasn't much of a personality clash. I just felt one because he was very standoffish. And I just was like, I basically just told him, I was like, after these sessions, like, I would appreciate if you like found a different trainer, or like if you moved on or whatever. And he's like, oh, I was going to be done after these sessions anyway. And it was nice working with you. And like, he was super nice about it. I was just like, was it
Where
nice
was
working
that?
with me? Because you're kind of an asshole. Like, I don't understand. So I think that that's like the only time I've ever like fired a client. And it was really like, I think just like a weird misunderstanding where like he was on one level and I was on another level and they just didn't meet. It was weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like where did you train in person?
So I trained out of Iron Asylum Gym in Alaska. Um, and
I
I
think
trained
you told
there.
me about that, or like I saw that somehow.
You probably saw it somewhere. I used to train there
Yeah.
all the time. That was my home gym, still my home gym. I miss it all the time because it's like bodybuilder's paradise, and it's like also a
Mm-hmm.
powerlifter's paradise because it started as like a powerlifting hole in the wall in a storage unit that evolved into this huge powerlifting slash bodybuilding gym that's like the best gym in Alaska at the moment. So um I used to train there with Kimmy. Kimmy was the other trainer at the time. So
Okay, got you, got you. Like, did you stop that because you wanted to switch to like online coaching, or were you getting burned out from in person?
it was mostly because I wanted to switch to online, and training in person and online was getting to be too much at a certain point. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why. When I first started coaching online, I wasn't the most efficient with my time. I had never done it. I didn't know any sort of like tips or tricks or like any ways to sort of like mitigate the amount of time that it can take. Like I was taking extra time for things that I didn't need to take extra time for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that at the time I couldn't handle it, even with like much less, like much for your clients, just because I didn't know. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm drowning because I feel like I have so much work. And right now I could probably take a couple in-person clients if I wanted to, just to do it because I could. because I feel like I have a handle on how this stuff works and like how much time everything takes me. Like, I feel like I'm much faster, I'm much more proficient at it. And Bryce told me that when I first started. Like when I first started, he's like, there's a learning curve. Like, you're going to take a lot more time to do very few things out of the gate. Heads up, if you're going to be training in person, like there's a learning curve and you're going to have to figure it out. I'm like, hey, eventually I figured it out, but there was definitely a hurdle.
Yeah. Wait, so how did you get connected with like Bryce and P2?
So, well, this is the only time I'll ever say that Bryce was right. When I was with Dylan and I was thinking about getting into prep for nationals, I wanted to take my training to the next level because I had just been like doing my own thing, or loosely following programs that Dylan had put together. And I was like, I really want to take my training to the next level. So I reached out to Bryce. Bryce wasn't taking clients at the time. And I got an email from Chris to book a call. And I ignored the email because I was like, I don't fucking know Chris. I don't know this dude. Like, so I literally, I emailed or messaged Bryce, was like, you're not taking clients. Like, I'll just wait till you're taking, like, it's cool, bro. Like, not a big deal. I'm not even going to bother. He's like, did you even book a call? I was like, no. And he's like, just book a call. Just trust me. Like, just trust me. And now Chris is one of my best friends. So like, like he was right, but I hate saying that he was right.
That's
how
funny.
I got to know Bryce. And then when I applied for the position, it was because Kelly pushed me to. Kelly was like, you know your shit. You're fucking like graduating with a degree in nutrition and psychology, and you've been coaching people for 5 years at this point. You know your shit. Just fucking apply. The worst they can say is no. And then I get a text from Chris. He's like, what the fuck? You weren't going to tell me you applied? I was like, I didn't know I was applying until Kelly told me I was. So it just kind of happened.
That's funny. Okay. And did you get connected with like Dylan and just through the grapevine of like Bikini back in the day, or how did that happen?
I think so. I honestly cannot remember my first conversation. Oh, you know what? It was because my friend Hunter was being coached by Dylan at the time. And she had told me about him. And then like my friend Jade had been coached by him for a short period of time. I was like, well, I mean, I could get on a call with this dude. And he seemed to know what the hell he was talking about. And when I showed him my pictures from nationals the last time I had gone, he's like, no, you're definitely Bikini. You just needed to be like 7 to 9 pounds leaner. We got me 7 to 9 pounds leaner, and it worked. So he knew what he was talking about. So I was just like, sure, let's go with it. So I just kind of ended up because of a friend of mine.
Yeah. Fun fact, I'm from the same small ass town in Ohio as Dylan Bear.
Really?
And my parents actually live next to Bear Road, which like I've always wanted to ask him, like, was that name named after, or was that road named after your family? Because like weird coincidence, if not.
That is weird.
Yeah. Very, very rinky dink town. I remember I saw him like years and years ago, and I was like, who the fuck is this Jack dude at the coffee shop? The one like coffee shop we have in our town. I was like, who the fuck is that? And then here we are. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Cool.
Oh, Dylan. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we got a lot of good value for the people. I learned a lot. So thank you so much for that. And Macy's up from her nap and she wants to transition in the topics. So I'm interested in just hearing more about Ty. So like, what are your interests outside of the gym and outside of coaching?
I primarily go to raves in my free time. That's most of my free time is going to raves. I'm not gonna lie to you. They have so many here. Like I moved out of Alaska and there's so many shows here. They're like every weekend. I could go to a show every weekend if I wanted to. Like it's crazy to me. Like really, but not even just raves, like all concerts. I don't discriminate. Like I went to MCR last October. That was an emo dream come true. And because it was MCR and Taking Back Sunday, like peak 2000 emos.
Yeah.
And then it's great. And then in August, I'm going to Yellow Card and Anberlin and Mayday Parade.
Wait, okay. I knew Mayday
Yellow
Parade.
Card sings Ocean Avenue, if that helps.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to that. Like I go to all sorts of concerts, all sorts of shows. Yeah. Like that's what I primarily spend my time doing. Or making like perlers and stuff for those shows like this.
Ooh, dang, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's
So that's what
awesome.
I do outside of it.
I got you. Okay, so big music fan. Were you like did you play instruments or like were you involved in music growing up or has it just been something that you're always passionate about?
So I played flute growing up. From like third grade all the way through graduation. I played a duet with my dad at my graduation on the flute. And I grew up in musical theater. I was in multiple musical theater shows. I played Frenchie in Greece when we did it in my town. Like I've been in all the shows. I've been in music my entire life. My dad's side of the family is all musically inclined, like pick up any instrument and can play anything on it basically without even knowing the instrument. Like that's my dad. And he plays like sax and flute and piano and guitar and bass and drums. Like he plays everything. So I just grew up around having music everywhere and going to like my dad's rehearsals and stuff. And they're like still in a band. Like my whole life has been music. So I think it was just like a natural transition. And then I went to a 2007 Warped Tour in San Diego, and like my concert, like going days were history after that.
Oh yeah, I got you. That's funny. There's like a lot of parallels there because I played the trombone growing up and the piano. And yeah, same, like did a whole bunch of musicals from like the time when I was like, yeah, like a little kid up to like graduating. My mom is the organist at our church, so
Nice. Yeah,
big
my
influence
my
there.
dad used to do like the conducting and stuff for the plays that he wasn't actually acting in, and like my mom has always played cello for all the plays. Like I was just kind of immersed in it growing up.
Got you. So then that, classical-ish background from the flute just transcended into your current tastes, which I have described in the past as terrifying. So, how did it evolve? Like, you're into some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Tell the people about it.
So I grew up obviously with like classical background, but I also listened to metal and emo and punk and like that kind of stuff with my sister. That's what my sister and I did. We went to local metal shows all the time. My cousins were in a local metal band. Like I've been going to concerts and stuff like that since I was in like middle school. Like
Mhm.
Jennifer and I used to find ways, like we'd get dropped off and then picked up by our parents. Like it was a
That's
whole thing.
awesome.
Yeah, so we used to go to all the metal concerts in the area. I'm not sure how I'm not deaf because I was always like on the fucking stage, never wearing ear protection. I don't know how I'm not deaf, truly. Um, and so I have always listened to like metal and that kind of stuff, which already has a pretty heavy bass line, and already incorporates these like heavy drops and breakdowns and that kind of stuff. So that part of it was a pretty natural transition. My very first show was Millennium in San Diego. I went with Kelly. She actually, I was just gonna go for a visit. Like I planned to be there for the weekend anyway, and like a full week over like spanning the weekend. And she texted me one day. She's like, "Can we please go?" And sent me like links to tickets to Millennium. I'm like, "Sure, why not? I've never been. I don't know what to wear. I don't know what to expect, but why not?" So we went and I enjoyed it, but it was a lot of like the lighter, like the more melodic stuff, the more like there was a really housey day, and then there was like a much more like melodic, a little bit of dubstep type of stuff. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't until she sent me a link to Sullivan King and said, "You'll love this guy. He just screams and plays guitar the whole time." I was like, "Bet." So I listened to Sullivan King. I was pretty hooked after that because again, it's like it really combines the metal background that I have with dubstep and puts them together. And it just kind of like spiraled from there because I found other artists who were very similar and much heavier than Millennium. Millennium still has a soft spot for my heart because it was my first show, but I'm much more into like the really heavy stuff because I come from that metal background and going to shows and headbanging and somehow not losing my hearing.
I got you. I got you. Does Sullivan King know you by a first name basis at this point?
Actually, yes.
Yeah, I
he
figured
he
so.
recognized me at Thunderdome anyway. So
Right?
he literally like we sprinted to the rail because we wanted to be center rail for Sullivan King, obviously. So I'd been there since noon. And doors were at 6. So we were dedicated. And My friend posted in the Sullivan King group, like holding down the fort for the rail, and like posted a video or picture or whatever. He liked it. And then like when the doors open and we ran for the rail and we got there, he just fucking like comes out of nowhere from fucking left field. And he's talking to my friend Brent. He's like, the rail's over that way. Cause Brent was going to the merch table first. And he was like, the rail's over that way. And Brent was like, what the fuck? And then like Sullivan King came over and said hi to everybody. And he was like chatting with everybody. And then he looks at Dana. He's like, and you're Dana. And he looks at me. He's like, and Ty, right? And I'm like, excuse me? What? You know my name? I'm like, how? Why? I'm confused and a little scared, but also flattered. So, so like, yes, he kind of does. He recognized me at Thunderdome. I'll let you know after the meet and greet in Boise because I have meet and greet tickets, because of course I do.
There we go. That's exciting stuff. Is that one of the shows that you're going to like soon, or is that down the road? Because you say you have a couple music shows, not bodybuilding shows.
Not bodybuilding.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I have Sullivan King on Wednesday, Sullivan King on Thursday. So I'm going to Spokane on Wednesday, and then I'm flying to Boise for Thursday. And then I'm flying home.
So extra.
I know. And then I'm flying home on the 31st, and I have 7 Lions on Saturday.
Ooh, you have to let me know how that one goes. They're coming to Indianapolis in June, so I was thinking
it'll be a good show. I'm positive. I love 7 Lions. And he has a lot of really melodic stuff, but then he also throws down in his live sets. So I think it'll be fun. And then I have Keizo and stuff in the middle of April. So that'll be fun as well. That's the more evil stuff. Like when it comes, like Emorphic is at that show. I dare you to look up Emorphic. I dare you.
I'll have to call my mom again. Goodness.
It's fine.
Fair. Well, that's really cool. Do you lift to that, or do you just like casually listen to it? How does it go down?
I casually listen to it. Yeah. I'm not someone who wears headphones in the gym. I used to, I have before, but there's something about things in my ears when I'm trying to focus on my lifting that I just like, I can't, and I don't like the over ear for that either. So I just listen to whatever's on the radio in the gym. I've only been in gyms that have pretty solid music selections anyway. The one in Alaska was almost entirely like metalcore screamo, that kind of stuff, heavier stuff. And then this one is like pretty much half the heavier stuff and then half like rap and stuff like that, which is fine. I don't really care. I also like to hear things going on around me in case somebody like falls or like drops a bunch of weights or like hurts themselves. I like to hear things around me just in case. And not being able to hear people like kind of makes me nervous because I feel like I have to have like my head on a swivel. So I don't actually wear headphones to lift.
I got you. I'll never forget the transformative experience it was lifting at 614 barbell in Hilliard, Ohio, when Bryce had the ox. Like, I was like,
I was gonna say, like, did Bryce have the ox? Did he have Void on?
What the fuck is going on? Was my thoughts. I don't know if you were ever familiar.
Everyone okay there?
Right. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know. She might do bodybuilding now. I don't know, but she definitely was like really, really good power lifter. Her name was Janice Finkelman, I believe. She was badass. Like, this girl was strong as fuck. And I remember Bryce left the music on once. It was just me and her in the gym. So she's repping my max on deadlifts for like 20 reps. And I was like, do you care if I switch the music up? She's like, I don't give a fuck. I was like, oh, bet. Okay. Most definitely.
Bet, all right.
I'm going to go do that now. But yeah, that's cool. I love that you're like very passionate about the music. And I think it's cool to have that like other thing that you're super passionate about outside just the gym, because when your personality relies just around the gym, it's rarely a good thing.
Yeah,
so
I think that was a lot of my burnout too, was my entire personality was the gym. Like, it felt like that was all that I was. And now I'm kind of on the other side of that because I have other things and other friends and other like outlets and stuff like that. And I'm able to go and be a hooligan at the raves and enjoy it. And for lack of a better term.
I have no doubt. Well, I feel like we got a lot of good discussion talk. Thank you once again for coming on the podcast. This is a long time overdue, and it was a really fun one as well.
Yeah, for sure. So
we already mentioned the Instagram handle. Is there anywhere else that people should be on the lookout for you? Do you want to plug anything? All the fun podcast things you do at the end?
I mean, really, I only use Instagram. I have a TikTok. I don't use it, but if you want to follow it, like, I use it every once in a while. You'll see a random video of me looking like handsome Squidward or something. I don't know if you've seen that post. I don't know if you've seen that post of mine, so that's really out of left field, but you're gonna have to go look.
Oh man, definitely.
Let me see what else. The P2 podcast that I did with Bryce was a really, really, really good one as well. It got a little,
Highest viewed.
yeah, yeah, that's weird. That blows my mind. I'm like, I'm not that cool. Like,
Reddit famous.
right. So yeah, that one was a really, really good one. We had a really good discussion. We got a little bit more in depth on the burnout stuff, and a different like side of that. So that's a really good one if anyone's curious. And then my Instagram is really, like I said, that's my primary source of social. So
Yeah. Well, perfect. I'm going to link all those things. I'll do some digging and find the handsome Squidward video specifically and link that in the show notes.
it's like one of my most recent videos. You won't have to dig.
Oh, perfect. Makes it easy on me. But I just want to say thank you to the audience, whether you're on YouTube or Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you so much for listening. Definitely go support Ty. She mentioned she has a couple extra hours on her hands, so go work with Ty too. Apply to the P2. They're amazing coaches. But all the YouTube things, subscribe, like the video, leave me a review, and talk about your reaction to the music that Ty talked about. I'm very interested to see what the people think. But
yeah, go look up Sullivan King and report back.
Yes, comment back your reactions. But until next time, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Trainer Scoop podcast.